So why do we draw a random sample? Well, one reason is for efficiency, because by drawing a random sample, we don't need to recount everything, yet we can still come up with statistically meaningful conclusions. And the randomness also prevents the adversary, who might be trying to perpetrate some fraud, from knowing which precincts will be audited. Sort of obvious game theoretic notion. So our goal is to be able to make statements of the form, this election result is correct with a high degree of confidence. We're not aiming for perfection. We'd have to count all the votes to do that. And we're looking for a trade-off between efficiency and the level of confidence in the election outcome that we can see. Obviously, the more auditing you do, the more confidence you obtain in the certainty and the confidence of the outcome. So more precisely, we want to be able to make statements that, of the sort, the chance that the announced election outcome is incorrect, and yet we didn't see evidence of a sufficient miscount to go along with that, is very small, say less than 5%, which would correspond to a 95% degree of confidence. So the goal of the audit is to, one of the major goals is to make such statements, to come up with a confidence level, 50%, 90%, 95%, 99%, that you haven't missed any significant amount of fraud. So how much auditing is necessary to achieve the desired confidence level? That's one of the technically most interesting questions, and it depends on many factors, and you have to keep all those in mind when you start addressing that then. The total number of precincts, the sizes of those precincts, most interesting, the margin of victory, how much difference was there between the leading candidate, the one who allegedly won, and the next one. This is the margin of victory. The vote totals in various precincts, the desired confidence levels. So those are the main factors that go into this. The math can get kind of complicated. You can see many different formulas for the number of the amount of sampling to be done. But just remember to keep your eye on the ball. We're really talking about achieving a given level of confidence in the election outcome. And so any particular formula you see proposed, you can ask that question. What level of confidence is that going to give me in the results? I mean, the right approach really is to ask a mathematician or a statistician to say, tell me how to audit in order to get the right level of confidence. And what level of confidence am I getting for what I'm doing? Nonetheless, there have been some formulas proposed for levels of auditing. I wanted to talk about a couple of them to begin with. One is a fixed percentage, say 2%. So you audit, no matter what all these other parameters are, you just audit a certain 2%. That is not a good choice, I feel. It's not sensitive to the margin of victory. So it doesn't audit enough when the election is close and gives you a weak confidence level. And it audits too much when the election is a landslide and wastes taxpayer dollars. So it's just too simple. Another proposed approach is tiered, which depends on the margin of victory. So the whole bill, for example, says if the margin of victory is over 2%, you do a 3% audit. If it's more than 1 to 2%, you do a 5% audit. Less than 1%, you do a 10% audit. So such an approach is sensitive to the margin of victory, can give reasonable results, and you can actually determine, again, the level of confidence that such an approach gives you from a particular set of parameters. I'd like to actually give you a rule of thumb here for those of you that are not mathematicians. That's actually pretty darn good results, and it's something you can do in your head. But before that, let me just emphasize that it's termed in terms of number of precincts audited rather than percentage of precincts audited, which I think is the right way to do it. I mean, suppose you walk into a city and you're trying to find a blue-eyed person. If 25% of the people in the city are blue-eyed, how many people do you expect to have to run into before you see a blue-eyed person? About 4. If 5% of the people are blue-eyed, you expect to have to see about 20 people before you find a blue-eyed person, because 1 in 20 people are blue-eyed. You don't need to examine some percentage of people in the city, like 1% of everybody in Boston, to find a blue-eyed person. So here's Ron's rule of thumb, a heuristic rule for how many precincts to audit. The number of precincts to audit should be 1 divided by the margin of victory. So if the margin of victory is 25%, it's a landslide, you audit 4 precincts. If the margin of victory is 5%, you audit 20 precincts. If the margin of victory is 2%, you audit 50 precincts. This actually is pretty darn good results. If you want a mental rule of thumb to compare against what some of the other mathematicians are telling you, try that in your head and ask them, how does this compare? It corresponds roughly to a 95% confidence level. There's lots of other variations. Andrew Apple had one where you do a 1% audit plus 7 precincts chosen by the loser. That gives pretty interesting results as well. There's lots of other variations, such as on precinct size. I've got a paper coming out on that, and so on too. But final word is keep your eye on the ball. Look towards that confidence level. What level of confidence are you getting in the results? And I've run out of time.